It is 35 minutes past the hour. You have the Rick and Bubba Show as promoted, and we're thankful to all who made this happen. The 45th President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, is standing by. President, welcome to the Rick and Bubba Show.
Well, thank you both very much. I got to meet Bubba the other night. We had, I guess, a record-setting rally. It couldn't have been one that was more crowded than that. It was a great evening.
Mr. President, it was an exciting and electric night. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Well, great meeting you, and Bubba, that was great to meet you.
Well, he worked the crowd into a frenzy. We've watched the video. I mean, the place was in a frenzy, and I told you that, if things don't go the way that you're hoping they'll go concerning the Senate race, you can blame that on Bubba.
Well, I'm going to. I expect to. Luther, who's a really great guy. He's a fantastic guy. And he was sort of unfairly labeled. They have him as best friends with Mitch McConnell. He doesn't even know Mitch. I mean, he met him a few months ago. When he came into Washington, he got to know him a little bit. But he virtually doesn't even know him, but they tried to put that tag away. Politics is a dirty business. You guys might have figured that out by now.
Oh, my goodness.
And
We've heard
Luther Strange is going to be a great senator. He already has, and he already has helped me. The story I told is 100% true. He wanted to give me his support, and I just didn't forget it. It was a different kind of a support. It was without, it was just a support that was a very beautiful thing to watch happening, the way it formed, and he really was helpful. And he's helpful right now, actually. So we hope we can keep him in the Senate. He loves Alabama. I'll tell you what, he loves the state, and he loves the country. And he's a solid guy. And, very important, fellas, to me, very importantly, is that he will absolutely win against the Democrat. Whereas, Ray's going to have a hard time. You know that. It's going to be a hard race. You've seen those races go very bad over the years, whether it's Harry Reid's race or whether it's a couple of others that I won't even mention that were, tough and they were not victories. And Luther wins automatically. If Luther wins tomorrow, the Democrats will hardly fight. If Ray wins, they're going to pour in $30 million like they did in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I had to bring her, we brought her over the line. We did a great job, but Karen, we had a very, very, very tough race, fighting for Tom Price's seat in Congress. And, they spent $32 million on that race because they thought they were going to win. It ended up that we won by 5 points. The good news, I'm 5-0.
Right.
In these races over the last little while. And I want to keep it. I want to make this one 6-0. This is an important one, so I want to make it 6-0. But I'm doing it really for the country. I mean, he is a good man. We can't lose him.
So, you President, you said, obviously, and it was Roy Moore. I know you were saying Ray, but Roy Moore. And but I wanted to clarify that for the audience who you were talking about. Obviously, this would not be somebody that, we would, be against as far as who he is. But when you're talking about the strategy, and I think you're right, if Luther doesn't win this, there's a shot that, he's kind of, Roy's done a great job as a judge, but when it comes to a senator and some of the things he's been part of, whether it's right or not, the Democrats are going to try to turn this into something they think they have hope in. And is that part of the motivation? And I know you said it was them, but, when you tell people right now about Luther, you also think with every single vote that counts, you just feel like this is somebody that's going to push your agenda through without hesitation.
Well, I think that Luther will be absolutely fantastic in terms of agenda. He wants the wall. He's very, very tough on crime. Remember this, that if Luther didn't run, if he would have, in other words, if he weren't appointed, let's say he was,
right,
Attorney General and he stayed Attorney General, et cetera, and then he ran, nobody would even run against him. He would have been, but because he was appointed by a little bit of a controversial guy, I guess, as I understand it, now it makes the race tough. If he would have done nothing and just run now against, and it might be that Roy Moore, as you say, because I don't know Roy Moore at all.
Right.
And I think it's perhaps indicative when somebody doesn't even know his name. That's not a good sign for him. But I have to say that, I just don't know very much about him.
Right.
I know there's great controversy and there's a lot of angst, but I don't know very much about Roy Moore. Luther is going to be. Luther was one of the most popular people in Alabama. I mean, he was really a popular guy, and he would have won that race had he not been appointed. It turned out to be, really appointing him turned out to be difficult. At the same time, I'm glad it happened because he's really been helpful.
Right.
And, again, it's so important because, as you know, Mitch is not, polling-wise, the most popular guy in this country. No. And they like to label him because he happened to be there for a number of months with in the Senate. So they like to label him as Mitch's best friend, but he's not, and he hardly even knows him. And he'll be fighting Mitch. I know he's going to fight him on that ridiculous filibuster rule where you need 60 votes instead of 50 or 51. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. So that means we need 8 Democrats, and the Republicans could end it. I know that Luther came out the other day very much opposed to that, and Mitch wants to keep it, which is ridiculous, by the way. But Mitch wants to keep it. And, how do you get votes? That means you have to get 8 Democrats every time. Yeah. It is absolutely insanity to keep it. But Luther's very, very strongly opposed to that. He wants 51 votes. And, the Republicans have a very, very slim margin. The fact is, in 18, we have to get, we have a chance to get more senators. But good things have to happen. So Roy Moore is going to have a very hard time getting elected against the Democrat. And Luther, they won't even be fighting. They won't be sending money because he's a guy that, they understand, and you check out the polling, but they understand he's going to win a very easy race against the Democrat. That's a big difference. People forget this is in the end. This is getting the nomination, and then you go into the race against the Democrat, and the Democrat is not an unpopular person. And frankly, it's going to be a very, very tough race for Roy. And it's going to be a no contest for Luther. That's a big factor.
Mr. President, I thought one of the most unfair things in this that Luther has been painted, as you said, and you saw the ads that have run, as an insider. He's only been in Washington as a senator for 4 or 5 months. I know he worked there at one time too, but I think that's a very unfair characterization of him, don't you think?
So Luther is a man who is very independent, a man who loves his state, who loves the people of Alabama, and he loves the country. And they paint him as all sorts of – they do the same thing with me. They paint me as everything you can imagine. I mean, you've seen that. And yet we just have new polls today. We're doing great because we're accomplishing a lot. We have over 50 legislative pieces approved by the legislature, which is very hard. I've reduced restrictions and regulations at a rate that has never taken place in history. We have a Supreme Court judge, not just nominated it's confirmed, Judge Gorsuch, which is going to save your Second Amendment. And now hopefully, at some point we'll get another one. But we're going to save your Second Amendment. Had Hillary won, your Second Amendment was gone. You might as well turn in your rifles and turn in your guns. Right. But we're going to save your Second Amendment now. And, I've done a lot. I think, and I've said this, and other people have said it too, I think I've done more. I think we've accomplished more than any other president in 9 months. I don't think any president's accomplished what we've accomplished. And yet I'm always bucking the system. I'm fighting the system. I'm fighting Republicans as much as Democrats. And sometimes, recently, in order to get the tax cuts, I made a deal with the Democrats because you can't make them sometimes with Republicans, which is unfortunate. That's why I need a guy like Luther. But I made a deal with Pelosi. Can you believe that?
No,
and
I can't.
Schumer. But what did we get? We got debt ceiling put off. We got the CRs put off. We got the military put off down the way because I want a lot of money is being spent on the military at my behest. And I don't want to complicate the tax cuts because we're doing massive tax cuts, massive.
Now, I know you're going to roll those out this week, right?
Well, we're going to roll them out on Wednesday, and I think people are going to it'll be the largest tax cuts in the history of our country.
Which will affect all of us.
So do we have the votes to get it through already?
Well, I'll let you know. I mean, healthcare, I've been watching for 7 years because don't forget, I've only been doing this for 2. So I've been watching now for 7 years, repeal and replace by the Republicans. And yet McCain votes against, and we have a couple of others that are going to vote. Looks like Susan Collins and some others will vote against. And don't forget, when we have 52 senators, so you lose 2, you're out. Now we get the vice president, who, by the way, is coming to Alabama today to campaign strongly for Luther.
Yeah.
But so we don't have much of a margin. We don't have any margin.
Well, I don't understand, and pardon me for interrupting, because we take calls to this show almost every day. If we get to talking about health care, people are in desperate situations. They're
horrible, Obamacare.
Yeah, I mean, and so what I don't understand, unless they just didn't tell the truth, how can they say, well, we don't have both houses, so we give them the Senate, we give them the House. Well, if we just had the president, well, then the American people go out and give them the president. And then we go, all right, you got everything you need, repeal it, and they won't. And the American people are incredibly frustrated by that.
They should be. It's disgusting. When I ran, I was told I'd have a bill on my desk. I'd sign it day one. And the Republicans repealed and replaced, was it 61 times? But it didn't matter because Obama was in office, so nobody cared because, they knew he wasn't going to sign it. Wasn't going to get through the Senate anyway because they had a majority.
Yeah, which made them look like they were pandering, that they were not principled on it.
Well, no, what happened is they just kept, hey, I'd take those bills right now, those bills. But now, when it matters, because you have a president who's actually going to sign it, they don't do it. And they pander and they grandstand. I mean, you look at McCain. What McCain has done is a tremendous slap in the face of the Republican Party. Tremendous. He was good to go all the way up until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning when he voted no. I mean, he was good to go all week long, all month long. He was good to go. Then all of a sudden he goes thumbs down. And, you can call it what you want. But that was that's the only reason we don't have it, because of John McCain. Nobody thought he was a negative vote. When I was given the negative votes, because remember I was given 10 people. I told you in the speech. I was given 10 people, and I turned every one of them around. I mean, the ones I spoke to, I turned them around. We had all the votes. And then John McCain, someplace after 1 o'clock in the morning, late in the evening, he all of a sudden goes thumbs down. We say, what happened with that? Without John McCain, we already have the health care. And it would have been very good, by the way. What would have come out of that committee would have been very good. Now we have it where we're sending it back to the states, which is really a Republican thing. The states can manage it better than the federal government.
Amen.
And it would be it's a great bill. Luther's for it 100%, by the way, but it would be a great bill. But we've got, as I told you, we have 52 votes, so we can't lose any votes. I mean, practically. So we're going to lose 2 or 3 votes, and that's the end of that. But for 7 years, you and I, both of you and I, and everybody listening, and I do hear you have the biggest show in Alabama, so we'll have to see, right? We'll see how Luther does. So so if we don't win, I can blame you guys and your shows. I'll say, well, not enough people listen to that show.
Thank you.
But that's okay.
It won't be the first time.
Well, I know we need to get to quickly, because I know we need to get to a break. Unless we have another segment with you, which I assume we don't. But it's not every day you get 2 segments out of the president. But
I think it's the first radio show. Honestly, I think this is the first radio show I've done as president, if you want to know the truth.
Well,
that's okay. That's
we
a
appreciate
great compliment to you, and I thought you were great the other night when I met you, too.
Well,
thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. You don't ask the president for a liner.
Ask him, Rick.
Yeah, you stop the bed and ask him for a liner.
All right, President
Mr.
Trump,
President.
what I'm about to do right now, if it's not classy, just say, Burgess, I can't do that for you. But if we could have you say, this is Donald Trump, President of the United States, and you're listening to the Rick and Bubba show, we would appreciate it. But if you don't think you should do that, we understand.
I will. I should definitely not do it, but I will do it. Are you ready?
Yes. Yeah.
This is Donald Trump, President of the United States. I love the state of Alabama, and you're listening to the Rick and Bubba show, and enjoy it. And if they ever switch allegiance, please do not run this, whatever it is.
Thank you, Mr. President, so much.
Okay, fellas.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
President.
you very much, both, and good luck to Luther. Luther he will make a great, great senator. I hope the folks in Alabama agree, and I love the folks in Alabama. So just have a good time, have a good day, and I appreciate it. Good luck tomorrow.
All right, thank you very much.
Praying for you,
there
sir.
There he goes.
Yep.
The President of the United States, Donald Trump. We'll be right back.
Rick and Bubba, Rick and Bubba.